Hey everyone, welcome to Startup Showcase. Hope you guys are enjoying a great fall day. Obviously, the weather here in Madison is nice. Not sure where everyone else is, but wanted to welcome you guys to another edition of this monthly showcase. Previously, in our organization's history, this has been an annual event at our Forward Fest event. But given the success and the popularity and the value it brings to other entrepreneurs in the ecosystem of Madison, we started this monthly installment. And so we're very honored to have Ian of Backyard Bicycles with us. We're really excited to share with you about his journey, what they're up to, and give you a little insight into how he's changing the biking industry when it comes to tune-ups and just general service for the biking community at large. So for those of you who haven't been there, though, before I get into another part of this video, I would love for you guys to check out the details. Find out more information on Capital Entrepreneurs. We're a great organization that really strives to enhance the Madison ecosystem and keep being a part of the growth that we've seen over the years. So please check out the details below. And but without further ado, let's get into the pitch that Ian will be providing. You'll see it here. It's about 8 or 9 minutes. And after that is done, we're going to segue into a live Q&A with Ian to get a little bit more detailed background and just get to know who he is and what he's up to. So enjoy this presentation, and we'll see you in a few minutes.
Hi there. Thank you so much for watching this presentation. My name is Ian Oestreich, and I am the founder of Backyard Bicycles. We provide the fastest, most convenient, and affordable bike tune-up in all of Dane County. And indeed, there are some problems with bike tune-ups in Dane County. First and foremost being, you are the one who has to schlep your bike to and from a bike shop. So if you're a family with 4 people that have 4 bikes, good luck getting them all there and back. The second problem being, especially during peak season, it's about a 2-week turnaround time from you getting your bike there and then it just sits. So if you're somebody who commutes daily to work or uses their bike every day, it's tough luck. You can't really get a tune-up because you can't afford to leave your bike there. And the third problem on top of those two is a baseline tune-up is going to cost you between $100 and $140 here in Dane County. So perhaps with COVID-19, funds are a little tight. That might be a high price. Backyard Bicycles solves these problems. First and foremost, you don't have to schlep your bike anywhere other than just a couple blocks down the street, because we're going to have a neighborhood pop-up shop in your neighborhood. Second, 2-week turnaround time, we slash that down to a same-day turnaround guaranteed. And $75 is our price for the baseline tune-up. That includes more than some other baseline tune-ups of bike shops here in Dane County. So the market opportunity in general for bikes and bike tune-ups is definitely growing. In 2020, $385 million of revenue in the US alone, and that was just bike repairs, not including any sort of bike sales. We estimate about 1 million of that being in Dane County. The impact of COVID-19 certainly has facilitated opening up a bike business, since everybody is wanting to get outside, I'm sure yourself included. You don't want to be trapped inside, so might as well have a really good working bike to carry you miles out into the country. Along with that, remote services like grocery delivery comes to mind, are becoming more of a norm. So the idea of a bike tune-up coming to you is something that more people are going to be accepting of. And we've actually found that we really are tapping into a completely untapped market. 50% of our customers said they wouldn't have gotten a tune-up otherwise had we not just been a couple blocks away from their house. So really, this is the convenience factor that's paramount, that's allowing an entirely new segment of a market to open up. All of these reasons have allowed us to have awesome sales and traction in our first season of operation. So really in the last 7 months, we've done 670 tune-ups at 108 pop-up shops. And I am incredibly grateful that we've been recognized on some national news. We've actually had 3 national news appearances with live interviews on CNBC, Fox Business News, and have been featured in an article in the Wall Street Journal. So we're going to back up just a little bit. Mobile bike shops in general are certainly an emerging market. That upper left-hand picture, that is the Bike Mobile. They have been around for about 4 years here in the Dane County area and have definitely seen a good amount of success. The VeloFix, that is the national franchise that has been growing in the US year over year. So any mobile shop, obviously the service is coming to you. It's very, very convenient. Steady growth is hard to tell sort of local businesses because they don't post their revenues. So I'm going to use VeloFix as an example. They had 10 franchises in 2016, growing to 50 in the next year, and then 87 in 2018. So it's a good steady growth on franchises, posting $1.757 million of revenue in 2017. However, if you wanted to start your own VeloFix franchise, you'd be paying $200,000 to open it. It's a hefty chunk of change. If you wanted to do your own thing, start your own van, such as the Bike Mobile, it's going to be at least $50,000 for a Sprinter van and then to outfit it. So Backyard Bicycles is much more of a neighborhood pop-up shop business model and alleviates a lot of those problems. So I just want to give an example of basically what we're doing. We go into a different neighborhood every single day and we set up a mobile pop-up shop. So this is generally in people's driveway or yard. And these are connections that we've made all over the place. Some are reaching out to us, others were reaching out to them. So we set up this pop-up shop, and that allows neighbors to just walk their bike a couple blocks, get a tune-up, and I'll just text them and they'll get that bike back the very same day. So like I said before, that's tapping into some new market potential of neighbors who would have never gotten a bike tune-up. They would have never taken that bike down out of their garage had it not been just a 3-minute walk. Combined with that, we have incredibly low overhead. There's no physical shop, there's no $50,000 van, and our advertisement is virtually free, which sounds impossible, but let me explain. We have incredibly targeted marketing because what I do is I make a flyer for the pop-up shop for that day, and about a week in advance, the host of that pop-up will post it on any neighborhood social media they have. So that could be a Facebook neighborhood page, Nextdoor, or maybe an email listserv. In that way, that flyer is coming from a trusted neighbor, not some random dude, and it's completely free to post. And it's targeted to the exact neighborhood that we're going to be in and the exact neighborhood that we want to drive business from. So this pop-up shop business model with the targeting neighborhood marketing really helps keep costs low, which allows us to have our tune-up be a much lower price point. Future plans for Backyard Bicycles. Obviously, we had a very successful first season. We'd love to double our bike tune-ups going into 2021. I'm planning on hiring on another mechanic to do that, as well as people may start transitioning back to the workplace as COVID-19 sort of quells. We plan on going and partnering with workplaces. You could think Exact Sciences or Promega as more of a corporation. So bike your bike to work, have your bike tuned up while you're at work, and then bike your bike home. But also like coffee shops and breweries, a partnership with them, basically we can share customers and it's mutually symbiotic. In 2022, plan on expanding into a new market. Right now, thinking about Minneapolis, just because it's a super, super bike-friendly and integrated city, but of course, open to other cities as well. So expanding a little bit in 2022. And then beyond that, I'd love to start offering franchising at a much lower price point. So no $200,000 van, rather it would be lower price point, more easy for mechanics to buy in and able to expand through the Midwest and beyond. This is a picture of me at a typical pop-up shop. This is actually outside of my house. So in summary, Backyard Bicycles business model is perfectly adapted to COVID-19. It's that mobile service that people are getting more used to. It's also outside, allowing for ample social distancing, and it's very pivotable. So as COVID sort of starts to go down, we can actually transition to offering more workplace and business partnerships. The neighborhood convenience opens up an entirely new market, as I've said a couple of times, and our same-day turnaround, most affordable price point, super convenient. Really, I want to change the way that people think about getting bike tune-ups. So rather than you knowing that you're going to have to schlep it to that bike shop and it's going to cost so much and take so long, you'll know that all you have to do is go on www.backyardbicycles.com, check out our interactive map with a pin dropped at every upcoming pop-up, and you just choose whatever pop-up you want to go to, the one that's closest to you, and walk your bike. Know you're going to have your bike back that very same day. So thank you very much for watching.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you enjoyed the pitch by Ian. We're looking forward to getting him in a Q&A now and hearing it, straight from the guy himself. So everybody, welcome Ian. Ian, if you want to introduce yourself, obviously they just saw the video, but happy to have you here. How are you doing today?
Yeah, thanks for having me, everybody. I'm doing wonderful, Cody. So my name is Ian. I grew up about 2 hours north of Madison in the Fox Valley, specifically Neenah. Shout out to if anybody's from Neenah. Um, and then I came down here for to go to UW-Madison, graduated with my bachelor's in kinesiology. Bopped around, and obviously now I've started Backyard Bicycles.
Awesome. Well, appreciate the background that you provided, and I think this, might be a little bit obvious to someone like me. I grew up in Wisconsin as well, just a little bit north of you in Green Bay. But I guess I would start out by asking kind of what attracted you to just Madison in general and the university, draw to this city that has been, growing so much, and how we can continue to keep that happening, because obviously we think the ecosystem is blowing up here, if you will, over the past couple of years, and it'd be interesting to hear what truly attracted you to this area, and see what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, initially, I mean, when I was a kid, I just had this like idyllic view of Madison. We drive here going up East Wash. You got the view of the Capitol. I just loved it.
Yes.
So I had it in my mind that I kind of wanted to go here for college, and I did. But what really kept me here, in fact, I was thinking about going to grad school elsewhere, and I took a big tour around the U.S., toured like 20 different universities, and I remember driving back into Madison, and it just had this vibe of like of vibrance, and there's people exercise, driving up John Nolan, people are fit, and then getting now into the entrepreneurial realm. There's just so many opportunities here in Madison, and just such a cool community of people, of which you guys are a part of.
Yes.
So yeah, I didn't necessarily peg myself as somebody who was going to like stick in Madison or Wisconsin necessarily, but I might start pegging myself.
Nice. Good to hear. And, I think I could say the same. I went to college here a number of years ago, moved out to the East Coast, and, found myself back here. The community and, the sense of, familial aspects that you get from being here is I guess one of a kind, and it's good to see that other people appreciate that, and we're able to, especially retain talent, homegrown like yourself, who's doing such great things in the community. So great to hear. And I guess another kind of general question that I'd want to get into is, what attracted you to the biking business? Are you an avid biker, a mechanic? I guess what's the background on Backyard Bicycles and your affinity for the biking world?
Yeah, my dad was a big biker. And then as an extension, I was as a kid. Like I remember I had a tandem on the back of his bike and then my own bike. Yeah. So he kind of did his own bike work. And so that's how I started doing it. I was kind of around it. And so then, I've been a kind of bike mechanic on the side. And it was really just, I was a fitness instructor at Orange Theory Fitness as the pandemic hit. And so that the pandemic was looming, and obviously being a fitness industry, we're going to shut down. So I was thinking, as I'm teaching my classes, I'm like, what else do I know how to do? And I've tuned up bikes for years. So I was actually in my fitness classes over the microphones, like, does anybody need a bike tune-up? Does everybody have a spare bike? And that was my initial clientele, actually. So I started with that little bolus and then just built out from there. So personally, I do love biking. And I've always used that as my outlet for cardiovascular exercise and outside. So it was just so serendipitous that the pandemic facilitated this move into bike repair, since now everybody else also wants to get outside.
Yes, that's a great story. That tidbit of announcing it over the loudspeaker of your fitness gym. Well, that kind of understanding that background, I feel like the biking industry has a rich history. I feel like it's one of the oldest modes of transportation, and there's obviously a lot of maybe tradition and just things that we would come to see as normal, like bike shops. What made you kind of go down this path of pop-up bike shops, that more mobile aspect rather than the traditional shops?
So I would love, Cody, to tell you that I really just laid out this beautiful business plan and I really smoothed it out and I was going to go into it. But the truth is I'm just some dude, and when the pandemic hit, I had to support myself. So it started with me just doing house calls because I didn't own a bike shop, obviously. So it was me going to people's houses. But then it became, I was in these neighborhoods set up right in their driveway. and neighbors were just biking past, and people were saying like, "Hey, great idea." And I thought,
Wow.
why don't I just post up here for the day and have it kind of advertised into a pop-up bike shop? Because surely everyone's trying to get a bike tune-up. And in fact, a testament to that is almost all of the bike shops here in Madison during the busy months, so right in the heart of summer, have like a 2 to 3 week turnaround for a basic tune-up.
Mm-hmm.
So I just saw a huge amount of opportunity there that I could set up a pop-up shop and promise people that came to me that day in that neighborhood a same-day turnaround, which was just unheard of. So
Wow.
yeah, I sort of fell into it, but then I've crafted it to be very COVID friendly.
That's great. The best things come out of necessity, I guess you would say. And this pandemic has certainly, highlighted some of those aspects. I guess one of the, kind of, thinking about entrepreneurship and you jumping into this new endeavor, is this your first entrepreneurial endeavor, or do you have previous startup experience? Where are you at in this kind of journey, I guess you could say?
I've always had, I was like the kid with lemonade stands in the lawnmower business. And actually, a quick personal story. In sixth grade, I had my brother draw I'd have my friends request pictures, and my brother, who's younger than me, would draw just some like shady like third grade picture, and I would sell it for a quarter. And I don't even know if I gave him a profit. Like it was like brother slave labor.
Oh, dude. The
I think
hustle is great.
and then, but more recently, I did start a tea subscription service. So basically, every month you have different loose leaf teas delivered to your doorstep. That was like 5 years ago. It's called Tea Step. There might still be some wafts of it around the internet. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then a couple of years ago, I was doing ancestral health coaching. So basically, health coaching for people trying to return our everyday lifestyles a little bit closer to how our ancestors used to live without going and living in a cave. So
Yeah.
those are kind of my most recent entrepreneurial pursuits. Backyard Bicycles has definitely been my most successful.
Very cool. It's the persistence. Everything's an opportunity, and I myself, and I think a good amount of people likely watching or who will view this know that rarely do people get lucky on the first try. You got to kind of take your licks and trial by fire and learn a lot. So but the most important thing I would say is persistence and just kind of problem solving. So kudos to you, man. That's awesome. Very inspiring, and I think people can take something from that. I would say before we kind of get into some of the more kind of core aspects, whether it's marketing or branding or just industry aspects, one general question I would want to ask you is, who has been someone that's been an inspiration from an entrepreneur standpoint, whether it's the Steve Jobs of the world to a neighbor or a family member? Where do you kind of get that inspiration, or what's I guess a unique story that impacted you and why you pursue entrepreneurial endeavors?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's really, there isn't one that stands out in my head because I don't have a history of entrepreneurship in my family.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really just kind of the culminative effect of anytime I encounter somebody who started their own thing, there's
Mm-hmm.
always this like passion and this fervor that comes with it. And they're never burnt out. Like maybe they're a little burnt out, but they're still like, they're still going and they're still like, I'm
Yes.
so happy that this is my thing and I'm building it. And people always have the best quotes. Like there's American Provenance is a natural kind of soap company, I believe. And he said to me, be an entrepreneur, not a wantrepreneur. And that always stuck with me. The idea you were just saying is you really just have to jump into it. You just have to do it. Don't just want to do it and plan it. Just try something, And like you said, you're going to fail time and time again. So I just love the aspect of entrepreneurship of you just go after it. You try to do it. And I love when I see people doing that.
Yes, it's same. It's intoxicating, and just it really sparks something in you to see someone else push through. It's super rewarding, and so hopefully people feel that through just hearing your story and kind of what goes with the territory of getting to this. Because as you said, it's been your most successful. It wasn't your first, but you had to do some things to learn a bunch of different dynamics, whether it's studying a market better or learning how to manage people or taking cues and feedback. Like there's so many things that you learn in this journey. So very cool. I guess kind of taking a little bit of a different direction. That's more, I would say, focused on the business, building blocks, and how you run your business is, where did the logo come from, or how did you do those things? Because, and just looking through your pitch and obviously these people seeing it, I would say that the logo, the bike logo, is super eye catching and, yet simple. So I think one of the things we try to incorporate in this is just, helping people understand what the processes are. Like, some people go to Fiverr or you make it yourself, or there's so many different ways, but I would love to hear kind of the backstory of your logo. It doesn't have to be crazy, but
yeah, for sure. So I think, in all things, if you have skills and talents, definitely use them. I don't have a ton of Photoshop talents, so like the logo actually did come from Fiverr, which is just an amazing tool if you ever need just a quick like the logo is nice. It's just a nice line drawn, whatever. Yeah. And actually, I'm editing it myself to change up my business card. I'm just add a little bit of a wheel aspect. So yeah, definitely Fiverr, utilize it because otherwise that logo could have taken me 20 hours, for something ridiculous that took somebody else.
I've used Fiverr too, man. It's super convenient, and they do some good work. So very cool. And
yeah, I will say though, in the same breath, don't be afraid to learn something if you're interested in learning it, because if my website, which is just backyardbicycles.com, it looks pretty professional if I say so myself. And actually, I completely created that myself, and that was all self-taught. And so that's something you could have paid for, but I knew the direction I wanted to take it in, and I also wanted the flexibility to edit it whenever I wanted to.
Yes.
But I'm also a bit technologically inclined. Yeah. So yeah, definitely outsource when needed.
Yes, I think that's a great kind of piece of advice is, one, being a business owner, you want to be able to know all the intricacies of your business. And in the beginning stages, you really wanted to exemplify the vision you have in your head. So learning those little tools, maybe you don't become the dedicated web, master for the life of your company, but at least you'll know how it works. And I think there's something to be said about that, from a leadership standpoint, and knowing, being able to wipe the floors, but also make the big decisions. There's a whole gamut of things that come with being a founder and an entrepreneur. So very cool to hear. Kind of in line with that, when it comes to, the logo and the branding and the marketing, what does that branding, look like at a pop-up shop? Is there anything extensive? Do you use it as, flyers and things like that to spread the word? What are some of those mechanisms that you're using to kind of drive this exposure in these neighborhood pop-up shops?
Yeah, so really it's two prongs. The first one is to generate my initial interest. I make a digital flyer, and I have the host who's putting me up at their house. They post that on their neighborhood social media. So in that way, that flyer is going directly to my target market, because it's just the neighborhood that sees it, and they say, "Oh wait, this is applicable to me. I can walk 2 blocks."
Yes.
And that flyer is awesome because I hand make every one, and it's completely free because it's just somebody else is posting on social media. Day of, I currently have 5 signs that say "Bike Tune-ups today only," and they have an arrow on them, and I place them at strategic streets in the neighborhood, driving, walking, sidewalk traffic to the pop-up shop.
Nice.
So that definitely picks up a good amount of people too, because usually I start at 9 a.m. So you always have your morning walkers, and they're like, "Oh, I've never had a pop-up shop in my neighborhood," and so it usually drives a bunch of interested folk. Next season, I don't know. I'll probably do a little bit more online advertisement. I didn't have to do any this season, which was excellent. Nice. And also car magnets. I'll have car magnets.
I like that. And I can speak, specifically to one of those examples. Is I recently, bought a house in our neighborhood, and I'm part of the, neighborhood Facebook group, and it's really communal in that aspect. I check it. My neighbors will share events that are going on. So it's really smart and resourceful.
Cody, you should host me at your house for a pop-up shop.
Oh, dude, I would love that. Like in my mind, I was kind of thinking like, one, our neighborhood, there's so many bikers. I think, because we're right on actually the lake loop. So we'll have to have a side conversation after this. That's
for sure.
Good stuff. But I guess, kind of now looking more at the biking industry in general and just some of your thoughts on it. I guess, what is your view on the biking industry as a whole? Like, do you see it growing? Obviously, I think, based upon your demand and the success, it seems like that. But, I guess, what are your thoughts on that as a whole?
Yeah.
Is it?
So, I mean, I definitely think year over year it's growing, and annual revenues have been growing year over year. Other than this past year, but that was just obviously COVID. People didn't have as much money to spend.
Yes.
And I think, people are just, as cities become a little bit more densely populated, it just becomes so much more of a viable way to transport yourself, especially in Madison. Actually, Madison was just voted in some poll that I'm forgetting the name of, but the number 2 most bike-friendly city in the U.S.
Yes.
So it's pretty high kudos to Madison, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. I heard something similar too. I think they have the most like bike path miles per capita in the country too, or something like that. So,
wow. Yeah. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it's definitely something that's increasing. And with the advent of e-bikes is definitely the fastest growing segment in
Nice.
bike everything. And that definitely allowed people, say that used to be bikers and then they have a bum knee and they can't handle the uphills, especially here in Madison.
Yeah.
Then now they can bike again. And I think that's really valuable.
That's interesting, and it actually kind of sets up nicely for the conversation I was going to follow up with. That is, do you service all types of bikes? The electric bikes. Where I know there's a whole different kind of discipline that probably comes with that from like the electric standpoint. But how do you see that being a component of your business, and maybe it's opportunity to grow, like you said, because it's one of the fastest growing aspects of the biking industry.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely service electric bikes. And in fact, they're exactly the same as a regular bike. They just have a battery pack. So if something goes wrong with the actual motor of the electric bike, that's not me, right?
Yeah.
I'm a general tune-up, whatever. I don't claim to be a specialty shop.
Yeah.
But no, I've literally even tuned up a tandem recumbent trike. So 2 seats on the ground, 3 wheels. It was a pain. But
Wow.
So I'll service basically anything with gears that runs, Burleys as well.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Oh, nice.
If I think for e-bikes, a really good market to expand into, and anybody who is interested, reach out to me because I'd be happy to pair with you if you have any interest in doing this. But it would be e-bike conversions. So rather than going out and buying a brand new e-bike, chances are that person has a perfectly fine bike in their garage, and you can actually take that bike and get an e-bike conversion kit and turn that bike into an e-bike.
Oh, wow.
And that's something that I was kind of thinking about doing this winter, like in my downtime, and it just didn't happen. But again, if anybody's interested, I'd be happy to work with you.
Yes.
So that's an area that I'm just spitting out startup ideas here.
Yeah. Hey, guys, as he said, if you want to, inquire, his website's in the details. Make sure to check it out, backyardbicycles.com. I guess one thing that I think would maybe be informative for our viewers is, may sound simple, but what's the telltale signs of needing a bike tune-up? Just for people who might have a bike and they're like, I don't get out much, but in order to be safe, you want to obviously have a smooth operation. So maybe give a couple little insight on that.
Totally. Just off the top of my head, 3 signs. When you pedal, does it sound like you're slaughtering thousands of mice? If so, the chain is probably real dry. I honestly want to carry a bottle of lubricant in my pocket, bike lubricant. And when I'm walking on the sidewalk, all the time I hear these squeaky chains. If you have a squeaky chain, all you need is some bike lubricant. Tri-Flow, great classic brand. You just spray it on the chain. So I'm actually going to start carrying it with me and stop people on the streets and be like, let me just fix that for you, and then hand them a business card as well. So that's to make your ride a lot smoother and quieter. When you click your shifter, if it doesn't shift or it goes, That's a cable tension problem. You can definitely YouTube that yourself and figure out how to do it, or come to me. And if you squeeze your brakes and your bike doesn't stop, you definitely need a tune-up.
Yeah, I think that might be the most important one.
Yep.
Good stuff, Ian. That's good insight for anybody out there who's trying to figure out what do they need to do to their bike. Those are helpful tips. So one of the things that I wanted to kind of move into, we did talk about what the pandemic's done to the bike market and how it has impacted that. But looking forward, you did mention the aspect of getting into franchising. One of the things I'd ask is, from your point of view, what would have to happen for that to be something you go all in on? Do you have, certain revenue goals that you want to meet? And then I guess, following up on that, where are some of those initial markets? I know you kind of talked about a little bit of this in your presentation, but
Yeah.
if you could elaborate on it, that would be great.
Yeah. So I was thinking about expanding real fast right into this next year, and I pulled it back a little bit. I'm like, all right, I'm going to kind of gather my processes, maybe just hire an employee for this next year. So in 2021, I'm really going to be thinking about, as a franchise, what can I offer to my prospective franchisees, and be really diligent about writing up all those processes and making beautiful documents and storing those away. So I'm treating 2021 as kind of like, I'm gathering and writing down, here's what makes a successful pop-up shop. Here's exactly how you'd market. Here's how you find your locations and your customers, and turning those into processes that I can then offer a franchisee. So I think the biggest thing that's keeping me from franchising is I don't have any of that flushed out yet. In terms of a monetary goal, honestly, I think next year is going to be pretty damn successful. So I think I'll be at that point. Markets that I've been looking into, I mentioned Minneapolis. Definitely Minneapolis is a super, super bike-friendly city. And it also has about 3 times the population of Madison. Don't quote me on that, but it's larger than Madison.
Yes.
So it would be, you could have multiple franchisees there, each having a different geographic region. So I want to start in the Midwest, just because I like the fact that it's seasonal, and so that there's an ebb and a flow with it. And I would be with that ebb and flow with all my franchisees. And then eventually, of course, nationwide, worldwide, why not?
Yep. Very cool. And you kind of touched on this in your answer, but with, having these pop-up shops and doing the service day of, what is the communication with your customers like, and has that given you any insight, or is it helping you kind of garner that plan that you're talking about of condensing those things and, setting up for potential franchise opportunities? Has that been something you've seen as unique to, how you're there with your customers, interacting with passerbys? What's that been like in terms of, kind of strategizing things going forward?
Yeah. Luckily, I'm extroverted, which really helps.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, like, I actually plan on writing down processes like for introverted people, because I realize that my style of, like, I'm literally catcalling people on the street, like, hey, you need a bike tune up, right? If they're going by. That's not something that people who are introverted would do. So
no, not at all.
I really want to, going in, and I obviously this past season I have a lot to pull from, and I've definitely honed in on how I communicate with my customers. Namely, I gather them before, I communicate with them day before, I text them, hey, just a reminder, I'm going to be at your Cody's house at 9 a.m. Day of, if they don't show up, I text them. When they come to me, I text them a picture of their bike so they know that I got it and I remember whose bike is whose, and then I just text them when it's done. So it's very personal, right? It's just like personal texts, or I'll give them a call if anything else is wrong. So yeah, going into this next year, I'm going to really be diligent about writing each of those steps down and making sure that it's something that somebody could follow and learn if they don't kind of naturally have that in their toolbox.
Yep. And so I guess this is something that was, thinking about when it comes to like the interaction at the pop-up shop. You kind of elaborated on that, but is it you just, or this past season, was it just you as the single mechanic, or did you have assistant mechanics that were, supporting you?
No, it was just me. I would have loved to have time to hire somebody on, but honestly, it was like I sort of built a rocket ship, and I didn't know how big the rocket ship was until like May, and then it just started exploding, and I was just holding on to that ship until like August, September. So no,
Hold on.
I was just holding on, and yeah. So next year I'm gonna build 2 ships, and I'll bring on another mechanic.
Smart, smart. So, I guess one thing, and this is maybe a little bit of comic relief, or maybe there isn't any aspect to it, but have you had any funny experiences with customers at a pop-up shop? I guess, is there any kind of specific instance that, stood out? Because I feel like it's, in the entrepreneurial journey, it can be, somewhat stressful, but, passion burns deep. So you kind of overlook those things when there's setbacks. But, is there anything that kind of sticks out to you that, you kind of look back on and you're like, oh, that was really funny, or that, we would have thought that would have happened?
Oh, let me think. Nothing that immediately pops up in my mind. I had kind of this continual experience that, I mean, when people go by, they're always like, oh, this is a great idea. That's awesome.
Yep.
And usually people over the age of like 75 would come up to me and they're like, man, this is like exactly like what we used to have. I've been called like a medieval like traveling tradesman, which was kind of nice. But if anybody's ever over the age of 75, it inevitably immediately switches to politics. They come up and they say like, hey, this is a great idea. By the way, did you see it?
You're like, thanks, but no thanks. I'm just going to continue fixing my bikes here, buddy.
No, but I've met some amazing people. I mean, really, like, I'm so humbled by when I'm at the pop-up shop, how many people say, hey, this is an awesome idea. And then they reach out to me and they say, you want to come to my house? I've got a great location for this. And that's how a lot of my pop-ups were actually generated, is people saw me and said, I'd love to have you. So yeah, super humbling and grateful.
Very cool. Well, man, it's really great to hear your story and, hear the passion behind what you're doing. And hopefully there's a lot of gems that people are taking from this. Like in kind of, working towards like the wrap up and concluding, I just wanted to know or ask the question, we talked about, future goals of franchising, but, do you have an end game in mind for Backyard Bicycles? I guess in your best ideal scenario, what does that look like? Maybe a couple years or 5 years down the line, what do you envision?
Yeah. So I'm kind of torn because obviously I want to scale, and I would love to franchise and be able to have this service be offered to more cities and stuff. But as that happens, I also know that I'm going to be taking a bit more of a management role, um, kind of maybe a little bit more behind the scenes. And what I really love is working with my hands and working with people. So where I said before, nationwide and worldwide, honestly, I probably wouldn't try to do that because that would take me so far from what I actually want to do. And I think this is a really important thing to keep in mind as a young entrepreneur. Is everyone's saying like, oh, push, expand, grow, this is going to be awesome. But what do I actually want? Because pushing, expanding, and growing means that it's going to be a lot of computer time. That's a lot of me thinking and having to raise funds and everything. So no, I envision myself having a good maybe dozen franchisees and stuff, something that I can kind of just support myself, but also that I can still do bike tune-ups. And if eventually I kind of offboarded and put a different manager, in charge of the actual franchising role, and I could just take a step back and do my tune-ups, that'd be cool too.
Nice. So this, there may not be an answer, or I don't want to say there's not an answer to it, but there might not be a different endeavor. But if you were to kind of be able to take a step back and maybe do the tune-ups, you alluded to some other entrepreneur endeavors that you have done before. Is there anything that kind of, comes into mind when you think about your next endeavor? Is it that, bike converter thing that you talked about? Is that kind of something that, segues nice? Or, I know a lot to be done with backyard bicycles, but I don't want to get too, I know there's a focus, but just,
Yeah. No, it's a good question. I mean, obviously the e-bikes would be a great winter project. And actually this winter I've got covered in January, February, and March. I'm going to be going down to Arizona, Scottsdale, Arizona, and doing my pop-up bike shops there because I have a friend that lives there, so I'm going to be living with him.
Oh, nice.
So it'll be a great quick test of another market. So this winter I've got covered. maybe future winters e-bike conversions. That's definitely something that I know would work well. I
Yep.
kind of just have to like get my feet under me and want to do that.
Yep.
Uh, in the future, once I'm kind of financially sound, food cart. I would never start a food cart for the purpose of trying to make money, but as a passion project, I would love to have a really zany kind of food cart because I love cooking. So just the thought of
That's
having
great.
a tiny little kitchen and being able to have people taste it, that'd be great.
Very cool, dude. Well, I guess in kind of the maybe the last question, and hopefully something that's another kind of parting gift to the audience. But I would ask you, what is the biggest lesson you've learned from starting Backyard Bicycles? Something that can maybe help other aspiring entrepreneurs, and maybe give them that peace of mind or that nugget to help them either jump into something or to keep pushing.
Yeah, so I kind of already said it before. It's sort of cliche entrepreneurial talk of be a entrepreneur, not a wantrepreneur,
Yeah.
and really think about what is the MVP, what's the minimum viable product. And I think a lot of people think that when they're thinking about being an entrepreneur, that they need to have this really big flushed out idea. I say
Yeah.
just find some way to do something. Get one client, get one person, put it in front of somebody.
Yep.
Um, because that's really I'm such a doer, and I really think that going out and just doing something, you're going to learn so much more from the feedback that you get from people than you
Absolutely.
could ever try to concoct in your mind.
Yep.
Uh, so yeah, as cliche as it is, just start, just find something, and know that it probably won't work, but that's
Yep.
okay. You did something.
Exactly. Don't talk about it, be about it.
Yeah.
Well, Ian, really appreciate you taking the time and, sharing your journey with us. Super valuable, and you've provided a lot of insights and just gems about the entrepreneurial journey. It's, very cool to see. And we obviously wish you the best of success. We want to be a resource to you. And so, to the audience, we appreciate you checking this out. As I said, look in the details. Ian's website, backyardbicycles.com, is there. Obviously, it's the winter times, but as the weather gets nicer and he's having these pop-up shops, be sure to check him out. It's really cool to see what he's doing, and we anticipate seeing him have a lot of success. And to that end, we would love for you guys to check out the after party that we're going to be hosting of this. Ian will be there where more of you can engage with him. It's going to be on the platform Virtual United. The link is below in the details. So we look forward to seeing you there. Also, would love for you to check out more Capital Entrepreneurs events. Obviously, we are proud of what we're doing, and we hope to continue to contribute to the Madison ecosystem. So that link is also below. Check out our upcoming events. But thank you for your time, and hope to see you on Virtual United, guys. Have a great evening.
Thanks, guys.